how to make nothing and no one afflict you anymore. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Lao Tzu. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where today we dive deep into the timeless teachings of Carl Jung to uncover how you can become truly unshakable, no longer affected by negativity, toxic people, or emotional chaos. This isn't about pretending to be fine or forcing false positivity. It's about mastering your inner world so that peace becomes your default state. As you watch, think about how these principles could transform your daily life, your reactions, your energy, your freedom. Have you ever reached a point where you just refuse to let anything disturb your peace again? If so, comment below. My peace is my power. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your journey in the comments. Let's grow stronger together. 1. Your inner world shapes your outer reality. What affects you most isn't the world outside. It's how you perceive and process it within. Every emotion, every reaction, every internal storm is filtered through your personal lens. Your past experiences, emotional wounds, core beliefs, and unconscious programming. What you call reality is not objective. It is shaped and colored by the stories you tell yourself. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, emphasized that people are not disturbed by events themselves, but by their inner interpretation of those events. A harsh word from a stranger may mean nothing to one person, but for another, it can trigger deep insecurity. The difference lies not in the words spoken, but in the emotional lens through which it is heard. Modern life constantly bombards us with noise, judgment, comparison, and pressure. The moment you step into your day, you're exposed to a world demanding reactions from emails and deadlines to social media and strained relationships. But in truth, the stress does not come from these events. It comes from how you relate to them. Think of Emma, a woman in her late 20s, working in digital marketing. Every time her manager offered feedback, she'd crumble inside, even if the feedback was neutral or kind. Her hands would shake. Her stomach would twist. She would spend hours overanalyzing. To her colleagues, the comment was harmless, but to Emma, it felt like failure. Why? Because her inner filter, shaped by a childhood of never feeling good enough, translated feedback into personal attack. It wasn't until Emma discovered Carl Jung's work that she realized she wasn't reacting to her boss. She was reacting to her past. Slowly, she began recognizing her unconscious patterns. The awareness was uncomfortable, but liberating. She started detaching her present from her past, her identity from her wounds. And over time, the same feedback that once shook her now helped her grow. Nothing changed outside, only within. This is the path to peace. Not by demanding the world to be softer, quieter, or more predictable, but by making your inner world stronger, clearer, and more compassionate. When you shift your inner filter, your eternal life feels less like a battlefield and more like a mirror reflecting your growth, not your wounds. You begin to understand that you are not at the mercy of every emotion that arises. You learn that people's opinions are not truths, they're projections. You stop chasing validation and start embracing self-awareness. Carl Jung taught that the shadow of the hidden, wounded part of ourselves controls us until we bring it to the light. Once you see it clearly, it no longer drives your choices unconsciously. This journey isn't about suppressing your emotions or becoming numb. It's about recognizing that pain is a teacher, not a master. That you can feel deeply without losing yourself. That you can walk through the chaos without letting it define your worth. The most powerful shift you will ever make is not external. It's the moment you stop fighting the world and start transforming how you relate to it from within. That is how nothing and no one will afflict you anymore, not because they stop trying, but because they no longer have access to the places in you that once bled. Have you ever taken a moment to reflect on how your inner world is shaping your outer reality? If so, share what you've discovered in the comments. Your insight might help someone else shift their perspective. If not, comment, "I will begin within," so we can grow and transform together from the inside out. 2. Emotions are teachers, not enemies. Emotions are not enemies to be feared or silenced. They are sacred messengers carrying spiritual wisdom from the deeper layers of your being. Fear, sadness, and anger are not signs of weakness. They are signals, each pointing to a truth that's asking to be seen. Fear is often a reflection of the limiting beliefs you've unconsciously accepted. It shows up when your mind has been conditioned to expect rejection, failure, or danger, even when there's none. Sadness appears when you're holding on too tightly to something that your soul is ready to release, an identity, a relationship, or a story that no longer serves your growth. And anger, so often misunderstood, is the body's way of declaring that a boundary has been violated, that something sacred within you has been crossed without consent. The moment you stop trying to suppress these emotions and instead begin to listen, everything changes. Suppression may seem like control, but it's actually resistance disguised as strength. When you push emotions down, you don't erase them. You bury them alive. And what's buried eventually finds its way back through anxiety, bitterness, physical exhaustion, or confusion. But when you bring awareness to what you feel, when you breathe into it without running from it, you unlock the deeper message behind the discomfort. Spiritual wisdom teaches that peace does not come from the absence of emotion, but from the ability to understand its language. Emotions are not interruptions to your journey. They are the journey. Every time you feel something strongly, your soul is speaking. The question is, will you listen or will you run? Consider someone who constantly feels overlooked or dismissed. If they ignore their anger, it will fester, turning into quiet resentment or self-doubt. But if they pause and ask themselves why they feel angry, they may realize that they've been tolerating mistreatment or failing to assert their worth. The anger is not trying to destroy them. It's trying to empower them. When you give emotions permission to speak, they no longer control you. Instead of reacting unconsciously, you begin responding wisely. Fear becomes an invitation to challenge limiting beliefs. Sadness becomes a gateway to surrender. Anger becomes a reminder to stand tall and protect your energy. You are no longer trapped in emotional loops. You are guided by them. This is what it means to master your inner world. Not to pretend everything is fine, not to force yourself into fake positivity, but to meet yourself where you are with honesty, courage, and patience. Emotional mastery isn't about being unaffected. It's about being unshaken, because you trust what your emotions are revealing. You know how to listen, interpret, and integrate their messages. Every emotion you feel is part of your evolution. It is shaping you, growing you, and guiding you into deeper self-awareness. Don't rush to numb it. Don't run from the discomfort. Sit with it. Let it speak. And let it teach you what you were always meant to understand. Your emotions are not your enemy. They are the doorway to your freedom. If you're ready to to stop fighting your emotions and start learning from them, don't hesitate to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments which emotion has been your greatest teacher. Let's grow through this together. 3. What you resist persists. What you resist doesn't go away. It lingers, grows, and eventually controls you. The more you try to silence fear, the louder it echoes in your mind. The more you fight sadness, the deeper it buries itself in your chest. You may believe that suppressing your emotions makes you stronger, more composed, or more successful, but in truth, it only creates a battlefield inside you. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." When you deny your emotions, they don't vanish. They retreat into the subconscious, where they begin to shape your behavior in subtle, often destructive ways. You carry these repressed feelings like invisible weights. They show up in your reactions, in your defensiveness, in the tension in your body that won't seem to relax. You find yourself triggered by small things, unable to explain why certain people or situations stir such intense discomfort. That's because what hasn't been felt cannot be healed. Repressed emotions become blocks in your energy, barriers between you and your potential. They cloud your perception, harden your heart, and distance you from peace. The way through is not resistance, it's observation, it's presence. It's choosing to face the emotion without judgment. When you feel anger rising, don't suppress it. Sit with it. Ask it what it wants to teach you. When sadness surfaces, don't brush it off. Let it speak. Emotions are not problems to solve, but messages to receive. Every feeling is there for a reason, pointing you to something within that longs for your attention. And only when you witness them with compassion do they begin to lose their grip on you. Spiritual awakening begins the moment you stop treating emotions as enemies and start honoring them as sacred signals. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't feel this," say, "I'm willing to feel this fully." That willingness is power. It turns discomfort into clarity. It turns pain into wisdom. It turns breakdowns into breakthroughs. Emotional freedom isn't found by pushing away what hurts. It's found by leaning in, by breathing through it, and allowing your soul to be present for its own healing. True transformation doesn't come from pretending to be okay. It comes from meeting yourself where you are with softness, with stillness, with truth. It comes from pausing before you react and choosing a response rooted in awareness, not habit. That's how you move from survival to peace. That's how you regain sovereignty over your life. What you resist persists, but what you accept transforms. And the most powerful thing you can do for your emotional health is to stop running and start listening. Because beneath every uncomfortable emotion lies a deeper intelligence, a message from your soul asking to be heard. When you choose presence over resistance, you shift your entire energetic field. You stop living in a constant loop of reaction and start walking the path of conscious response. This is where true spiritual wisdom begins. This is the essence of your awakening. Are you ready to stop resisting and start transforming? If so, comment below. I choose acceptance to commit to your healing journey. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a step on the path to freedom. 4. The power lies in the silent observer within. Carl Jung taught that within every person lies a silent observer, a calm, conscious part of you that witnesses thoughts and emotions without being consumed by them. This is not about suppressing feelings or pretending you're fine when you're not. It's about shifting from reactivity to response, from being emotionally hijacked to becoming emotionally aware. When you step into the role of the observer, you create space between the trigger and your reaction. In that space, you find freedom. In that space, you choose who you want to be, not what the moment tries to force you into. Most people are trapped in cycles of emotional reactivity because they live unconsciously. They respond from wounds, from fear, from past programming. But spiritual wisdom and Carl Jung's deep psychological insight teaches us that true power begins when we stop identifying with our emotions. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are not your shame. You are the one who notices them. And when you notice them without judgment, they begin to lose their control over you. That's when transformation begins, not through resistance, but through awareness. Rachel, a young marketing executive, used to be ruled by her emotions. A harsh email would ruin her day. A dismissive tone from her boss would make her question her worth. But when she started practicing inner observation, everything changed. She stopped reacting immediately. She learned to pause, to breathe, to watch the storm without jumping into it. And slowly, the storm began to quiet. Not because the world changed, but because she did. She didn't become emotionless. She became emotionally sovereign. That is the power of awareness. That is the essence of spiritual awakening. When you become the observer, even the strongest emotions pass through you like clouds drifting across the sky. You don't grasp them. You don't resist them. You watch. And as you watch, you begin to realize that most suffering doesn't come from what happens. It comes from how you react. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And this choice begins in the observer's seat. The more you practice this presence, the more grounded, compassionate, and wise you become. Emotional mastery does not mean you don't feel. It means you don't get lost. You return to the quiet place inside that simply sees. You return to the self that is not wounded, not anxious, not reactive, but aware. That awareness is your anchor. That stillness is your strength. The observer in you is not passive. It is awake, discerning, and untouchable. And when you live from that place, you stop being tossed by every mood, every conflict, every storm. You start living from a center so stable that nothing and no one can afflict you anymore. Let others be chaotic. Let the world be loud. You remain the stillness beneath it all. Not because you're above emotion, but because you understand it. Not because you've shut your heart, but because you've opened your awareness. In the teachings of Carl Jung and in the wisdom of inner presence, you discover that the most powerful person is the one who doesn't need to control anything because they've already mastered themselves. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss deep insights like this. Step into your power as the observer. Type in the comments, "I choose calm awareness." 5. Your beliefs and stories create your emotional triggers. Much of what hurts you emotionally isn't caused by the world outside. It's born from the beliefs and stories living inside you. Since childhood, you've been soaking in messages about your worth, your place in the world, and your right to be seen, loved, or heard. Over time, those messages became invisible scripts that play automatically in your mind. When someone ignores you, criticizes you, or disagrees with you, it's not just the moment that hurts, It's the old story whispering, "See, you're not enough," or "You're always a failure." That voice doesn't come from now. It comes from way back, when your emotional wiring was still being formed. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that these stories are not permanent. They're not divine law. They're just narratives repeated, inherited, absorbed. And like any story, they can be rewritten. But you can't heal what you don't see. That's why awareness is your first act of freedom. When you feel triggered, pause and ask, "What am I telling myself about this?" Often, you'll hear something like, "They must not care," or "I'm being abandoned." At that moment, you have a choice. Keep living under the weight of that old belief, or challenge it. Not every feeling is fact. Not every emotional storm is rooted in the present. Sometimes, you're just experiencing yesterday's pain disguised as today's reaction. And this is where your transformation begins, not through denial or forced positivity, but by facing your inner narrative with honesty and compassion. When you uncover the belief behind the pain, you take its power away. You stop reacting from your wounds and start responding from your wisdom. Rewriting your story isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about choosing a lens that honors your truth. You can decide that your worth isn't tied to achievement, that love isn't earned by perfection, and that rejection doesn't mean you're unlovable. These aren't just comforting thoughts. They are spiritual truths that liberate your nervous system, your mind, and your future. You begin to shift from emotional survival into emotional sovereignty. When you stop letting old beliefs dictate your present, life begins to feel lighter. You're no longer pulled into every emotional wave. You can witness pain without drowning in it. You can hear criticism without collapsing. You can face uncertainty without losing your center. That is real spiritual power, not control over others, but mastery within yourself. And as you do this inner work, you start seeing clearly. Many people aren't trying to hurt you. They're just revealing where your healing still lives. Their words, their silence, their actions, they only sting when they land on an open wound. But as you tend to that wound, gently and bravely, it closes. And once it heals, the same situations no longer trigger you. They lose their grip. They lose their meaning. Because you have changed the story that gives them power. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom. The understanding that what happens outside of you matters far less than what you make it mean inside. When you reclaim the pen and start writing new beliefs that are rooted in love, clarity, and truth, no one, not the past, not the pain, not even your old self, can hold you hostage anymore. If you're ready to break free from old stories and rewrite your truth, comment below, "I choose new beliefs." And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video that helps you heal, grow, and transform from the inside out. 6. Emotional responsibility is freedom. True emotional power begins the moment you stop blaming others for how you feel. It's not the world, the people, or the circumstances that disturb your peace. It's your reaction to them. When something triggers you, instead of pointing outward, you turn inward and ask, "What part of me is being activated right now?" That one question shifts everything. You're no longer a victim of life. You become a conscious participant in your own growth. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what spiritual awakening is, realizing that your inner world creates your experience of the outer one. The moment you start observing your emotions instead of identifying with them, you break the cycle of unconscious suffering. For example, someone may criticize you, and your first instinct might be to feel hurt, angry, or defensive. But pause. Ask yourself, what belief in me just got touched? Do I not feel good enough? Unseen? Powerless? That awareness allows you to reclaim your energy from the illusion of offense. The trigger becomes your teacher. It's not there to break you. It's there to reveal where healing is needed. This process doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. You don't need to suppress what you feel. Instead, you sit with it and examine it without judgment. When you do this, even your pain becomes a doorway to wisdom. The more you do it, the less reactive you become. You start responding from awareness rather than emotional wounds. And in this space between reaction and response, you find your freedom. That's where peace lives. That's where power is born. Taking full responsibility for your emotional state is not a burden, it's liberation. It means you no longer need others to behave a certain way for you to feel okay. You stop depending on external validation to feel worthy. You stop giving your power away to people who don't even know the depth of your spirit. This is not emotional detachment. This is spiritual wisdom in action. You are not becoming cold or numb. You are becoming grounded and sovereign. The world may still be loud, unpredictable, and full of sharp edges, but you carry stillness inside you. You may still feel pain, but you are no longer defined by it. Instead, you are guided by something deeper. Your ability to feel, observe, understand, and rise. This is what it means to walk through life with emotional maturity. This is the quiet, inner revolution of a true spiritual awakening. Do you believe that emotional responsibility is the key to true freedom? If you do, declare it with power in the comments. I take full responsibility for my emotions, and I am free. 7. Lasting change begins with inner work. Lasting change begins not when the world shifts, but when you do. Carl Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." This is not just poetic, it's a piercing truth. As long as you wait for others to behave differently, for circumstances to become easier, or for life to hand you peace on a silver platter, you remain trapped in emotional dependency. The real power emerges when you stop outsourcing your peace and begin anchoring it within. That's when nothing and no one can truly disturb you, because the source of your stability no longer lies in the unpredictable outside world. When you develop inner clarity, you stop interpreting every word or action as a reflection of your worth. You begin to see yourself with new eyes, no longer needing approval to feel whole, no longer fearing rejection as a threat to your identity. You move from reaction to response, from confusion to intention. That shift might be subtle at first, but it's life-altering. This is the turning point where you stop being pulled into every storm and start becoming the calm center that can't be shaken. Take the story of a woman named Sarah who, for years, found herself emotionally exhausted by her relationships. Every harsh word pierced her like a sword. Every silence felt like abandonment. She constantly asked herself, "Why does no one see my worth?" It wasn't until she started examining her own relationship with herself, her deep longing for validation, her habit of overgiving, her fear of being alone, that she began to realize the problem wasn't them. It was the empty space inside her that she had asked others to fill. Once she began healing that space, setting boundaries, and no longer apologizing for her needs, her reality shifted. The chaos around her didn't vanish, but it no longer consumed her. Carl Jung taught that what remains unconscious continues to shape our lives without our awareness. We repeat patterns, attract the same pain, and call it fate. But when we begin to explore the hidden beliefs that govern our reactions, when we bring the light of consciousness to the shadows of fear, guilt, or inadequacy, we reclaim power. We no longer lash out when triggered or shrink when ignored. We learn to hold ourselves with the tenderness we once expected from others. The more you deepen your inner awareness, the less you need to control the external. People's moods don't dictate your joy. Their praise doesn't define your value. You stop giving free access to your nervous system to everyone who walks into your life. This is not emotional detachment, it's emotional mastery. A quiet, grounded strength that radiates without needing to prove itself. When your peace comes from within, others either rise to meet you or fall away, naturally. And yes, it takes work. No shortcut, no quick fix. It takes courage to look inward and patience to unlearn what the world has conditioned you to believe about your worth. But this is where spiritual awakening begins, not in pretending to be unbothered, but in genuinely becoming rooted in yourself. You don't have to battle every storm if you learn how to calm your own waters. You become the observer instead of the reactor. You choose stillness over drama. You speak your truth without shouting. You walk away without resentment, because you no longer need the world to validate what you've already affirmed inside. This is the wisdom Carl Jung passed down, knowing that your reality is shaped not by the hands of others, but by the depth of your self-awareness. The most powerful transformation isn't when others finally respect you. It's when you stop needing them to. That's when you're free. To affirm your commitment to real transformation, declare it now. Comment below, "I choose inner work," to honor your journey and inspire others to create lasting change from within. Thank you for joining us today on Spiritual Wisdom. Remember, true strength doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering your inner one. The more you align with your inner peace, the less power anything or anyone has over you. This is not about denial. It's about awakening to the power within you that cannot be shaken by external noise. If this message spoke to your soul, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next journey into deep healing, inner mastery, and spiritual truth. Until next time, stay grounded, stay free. 8 signs that someone close to you secretly hates you. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt a strange twist in your gut when someone complimented you? As if their words didn't match the energy behind them? That's not paranoia. It's your intuition sensing the shadow self that Jung spoke of. The hidden envy, resentment, and secret competition masked by fake smiles. In today's video on Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore 8 subtle signs that someone close to you may secretly hate you. These insights aren't just warnings. They're keys to self-protection and emotional clarity. Have you ever experienced this before? Drop your story or thoughts in the comments. We're here to grow and awaken together. Chapter 1. Sarcasm as contempt. When someone close to you constantly masks cruelty as comedy, it's not affection, it's contempt. Sarcasm, when used as a weapon, is one of the most overlooked signs of hidden hostility. These are not harmless jokes. They are precision attacks disguised as playfulness, aimed directly at your insecurities. The words may sound light, but the impact is heavy. You laugh along, but deep down, your soul feels a sting it cannot ignore. The phrase, "it was just a joke," becomes a recurring shield they hide behind. Every time you wince or shrink, they pull it out like a get-out-of-jail-free card. But these jokes always seem to land where you're most vulnerable: your appearance, your ambitions, your values. It's not random. It's targeted. And when the humor consistently makes you feel small, anxious, or ashamed, that's no accident. It's emotional manipulation. Their sarcasm is a quiet way of controlling the emotional climate, of keeping you off balance without ever getting their hands dirty. Carl Jung taught us about the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we deny and project onto others. Sarcastic jabs often reveal more about the one delivering them than the one receiving them. Behind every joke that cuts too deep lies suppressed envy, insecurity, or resentment. Instead of confronting those emotions within themselves, these individuals direct them at you. And because it's wrapped in humor, you're made to feel guilty for noticing, as if your discomfort is the real problem. But your intuition doesn't lie. When your gut tightens, when your spirit dims in someone's presence, pay attention. The person who constantly teases you might not be teasing at all. They might be bleeding their shadow into your light. And no matter how polished their smile or casual their tone, the damage adds up. Over time, you begin to shrink, not just around them, but within yourself. True connection uplifts. It doesn't hide daggers in laughter. If someone's humor consistently makes you feel diminished, that's a red flag one that shouldn't be brushed off with, "they didn't mean it." Because the truth is, they did. Maybe not consciously, but their shadow did. And your body felt it before your mind could explain it. Have you ever laughed along with someone, only to walk away feeling drained or insulted? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below saying, "I've felt this energy," so others know they're not alone, and so we can keep diving deeper into the hidden truths that protect our peace. Chapter 2. Subtle Sabotage. They don't stab you in the back. They slice your spirit with tiny paper cuts you're not supposed to notice. Again and again, they forget your big moments. They miss your graduation, your birthday, your product launch. When you need encouragement, they go silent. When you ask for advice, they offer suggestions that subtly nudge you in the wrong direction, disguised as help but designed to derail. This isn't random. It's not bad luck or forgetfulness. It's calculated, quiet sabotage. And the worst part? They smile through it all, making it harder for you to trust your own intuition. What makes it so hard to detect is the way they dress their neglect and politeness. They say things like, "I totally meant to be there," or "I just had something come up," again and again. But when it's their moment, they expect your full attention. They hold you accountable for their needs, but offer none of that accountability in return. At first, you make excuses for them. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they didn't know how important it was. But over time, a pattern emerges. And that pattern whispers a truth your soul already knows. They don't truly support you. They may not say it aloud, but their actions scream it. And their silence when you succeed? That silence is the loudest sound in the room. People like this erode your confidence, not with open criticism, but with invisible weight. When you talk about your dreams, they tilt their head and give you lukewarm encouragement, just enough to seem supportive, not enough to uplift. They might say, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Or, "That's a big risk, don't you think?" And when things go well, they minimize your wins. Anyone could have done that. You just got lucky. It's death by 1,000 dismissals. And somehow, you end up doubting yourself, questioning your worth, your ideas, your timing, when the real sabotage wasn't internal, but environmental. This behavior often stems from the shadow self that Carl Jung spoke about, a part of the human psyche that hides the things people don't want to admit, like jealousy, competition, and resentment. Rather than deal with those uncomfortable feelings directly, some people project them sideways, through sabotage cloaked as concern. They don't want to confront their envy, so instead, they undercut you slowly, hoping you'll fail quietly, so they won't have to feel left behind. This isn't always conscious, but it is dangerous. Because while you're busy being honest and open, they're busy plotting in silence, usually under the guise of friendship. In modern life, this shows up in close relationships more than we care to admit. A coworker who never shares credit. A sibling who always changes the subject when you talk about something you're proud of. A best friend who only calls when they need something. They don't argue. They don't insult you. They just fail you, little by little, until you shrink, until you stop asking, until you stop shining so bright, just to keep the peace. But real love doesn't ask you to dim your light. Real support doesn't vanish when you rise. These people are masters of disguise. And if you keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, you'll find yourself exhausted, insecure, and emotionally confused. That's the goal of quiet sabotage, to make you doubt yourself so much that you never notice it was them all along. That's why recognizing this pattern is crucial to your healing. Not everyone who smiles at you loves you. Not everyone who claps is happy for you. And not everyone who says, "I'm proud of you," means it in their heart. If someone in your life consistently makes you feel unsupported, confused, or deflated after interacting with them, don't ignore it. That's not just a feeling. That's your spirit picking up on something your eyes can't see. Don't wait for proof. Their energy is the evidence. Leave a comment below if this resonates with you, and write, "I choose aligned, loving connections," to affirm your commitment to the relationships that nourish your soul. Chapter 3. Silent competition. Every time you succeed, there's a flicker in their eyes, a pause in their cheer, a shift in their tone. They smile, but it feels like a mask. Because deep down, your success isn't something they celebrate. It's something they measure themselves against. You're not just growing. You're unknowingly challenging their self-worth. What you see as a win, they secretly take as a loss. And instead of cheering you on, they mentally prepare their counterstrike. A story about their own accomplishment, a subtle one-up, a reminder that you're not ahead they are, or at least they want to be. This is not friendship. This is a silent competition. It's not loud. It doesn't scream jealousy. It whispers it in every reaction that feels slightly off. You talk about something you're proud of, and suddenly they change the subject. You shine, and they dim the room just enough so no one notices. You feel drained, not because of your work, but because you're surrounded by someone who turns every moment into a scoreboard. They don't clap when you win. They calculate. They don't walk beside you. They race you in secret. and the finish line keeps moving because they're not in it for joy. They're in it for ego. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if maybe you're just too sensitive. But Carl Jung reminded us, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Their irritation with your growth reveals their refusal to grow. Their envy is not really about you. It's about the parts of themselves they've left abandoned. When your confidence enters the room, it confronts their insecurity. When your ambition speaks, it exposes their complacency. And that's why they compete. Because they don't know how to confront their own stillness. Instead of healing, they project. Instead of evolving, they compare. You were never trying to compete. You were just trying to become. But now, you're caught in an invisible war with someone who pretends to love you, but secretly resents your rise. And here's the dangerous part. You may begin shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You may water yourself down to be digestible to people who never intended to grow beside you. You may silence your joy so they don't feel small. But that's not your job. Your light is not a threat. It's a mirror. What they see in you reflects what they refuse to face in themselves. This is the energy that drains you without a word. The energy that hides behind compliments and claps, but always carries the undercurrent of envy. When hate wears the costume of friendship, it becomes a slow poison. It doesn't attack you, it erodes you. And if you're not aware, you'll normalize that erosion. You'll keep toxic people close because they never did anything wrong. But energy doesn't lie, and silence can scream louder than words. Pay attention. True friends don't compete. They inspire. They don't flinch at your glow. They amplify it. They don't feel threatened by your transformation. They celebrate it because they too are evolving. If your presence makes someone insecure, it's not your duty to dim. It's their responsibility to heal. Did you find this helpful? If so, please comment "awesome" below so we can continue to explore this kind of deep spiritual wisdom together. Chapter 4: Superficial Kindness. Their compliments sound sweet, but something in your gut twists. You hear, "I'm proud of you," or "You're amazing." Yet there's a hollow echo behind the words. The smile on their face doesn't reach their eyes. You notice it, even if you try to brush it off. It's that quiet voice inside whispering, "They don't really mean it." This is not paranoia, it's intuition. Carl Jung believed that what we fail to bring into awareness will rule our lives in silence. That includes the hidden resentment behind polite smiles. True friends don't just say kind things. They radiate warmth when they say them. Real support is felt in the heart. Superficial kindness, on the other hand, feels like being hugged by someone who's emotionally checked out. You sense it when their energy doesn't match their words. The conversation feels scripted. They use the right phrases: "I support you," "You deserve it," "Good job." But their presence is missing. There's no real eye contact, no empathy in their voice. Everything about their interaction feels robotic, as if they're acting from obligation rather than care. According to Jung, this is the shadow self in action. Envy, frustration, and competition dressed up in politeness. And though they may never openly say a hurtful thing, their energy quietly drains you. You leave conversations with them feeling confused, like something just doesn't add up. You might begin to notice they only show up when it benefits them. They celebrate your success publicly, but privately, they go silent. When you're struggling, they offer vague support, but they're quick to disappear when you need real emotional presence. A person who secretly resents you won't attack you. They'll avoid you. Or worse, stay close enough to observe you, but far enough to never uplift you. They'll clap with the crowd, but you'll feel the pause in their applause. You'll sense the hesitation behind their congratulations. This kind of subtle sabotage is hard to explain, but your spirit feels the disconnect even if your mind can't find the proof. Their politeness starts to feel like a performance. Every kind word seems rehearsed. Every compliment feels like a transaction. You might start to wonder if you're imagining things, especially because nothing overt has happened, no betrayal, no harsh words. But that's the trick. The most dangerous hatred is not the loud kind, it's the quiet one, masked by etiquette. And if you ignore it long enough, it begins to erode your energy, self-trust, and emotional clarity. Because the truth is, love never needs a script, it flows. But resentment rehearses every word to appear clean on the surface. When someone's kindness lacks soul, when their support feels more like strategy than sincerity, it's not just awkward, it's toxic. And the longer you stay in their energy, the more your own spirit starts to dim. Jung reminds us that we must bring the shadow to light, or else it controls us from the dark. So when you feel that off vibe from someone who's nice, pay attention. You're not being overly sensitive. You're reading energy accurately. Energy doesn't lie. Words do. If you've ever felt the chill behind a warm smile, you're not alone. Subscribe for more insights on decoding fake kindness and building truly authentic connections. Chapter 5. Controlling through care. Their words sound like wisdom, but the result is always the same. Your dreams get smaller. You speak your truth. They nod with concern, and suddenly you're doubting yourself. They say it's for your own good, but somehow you always end up discouraged, hesitant, or quietly giving up on what lights you up inside. This isn't love, it's control, wearing the mask of protection. What they call advice is often their attempt to keep you in a place that feels safe for them, not for you. Carl Jung once said that people who can't manage their own inner chaos often try to control others to create the illusion of safety. Their inner disorder leaks outward, not through rage or obvious aggression, but through soft-spoken warnings, logical arguments, and carefully disguised fear. And because they sound calm and composed, you believe them. You internalize their fear as your own. You shrink, thinking it's maturity. You settle, thinking it's wisdom. But pay close attention. Their concern always flows in one direction, away from your expansion. They never say, "How can I help you grow into that?" They say, "Are you sure? That's risky. What if you fail?" They push you toward comfort, but never freedom. Behind every piece of their guidance is a hidden message. Don't change. Because if you change, you'll leave the version of yourself they know how to control. This kind of dynamic plays out everywhere in families, friendships, and romantic relationships. You tell your mother you want to leave your job and pursue your calling, and she says, "Just be grateful you have stability." You tell your partner you want to write a book, and they say, "You don't have time for that." You mention moving to another city, and your best friend looks away and says, "But everything you need is right here." And each time, you're left wondering if your desires are selfish, immature, or unrealistic. It's not just discouragement, it's emotional scripting. You start to believe that dreaming big is dangerous, that wanting more is a betrayal, that growing means losing love. And that's the real trap. When fear dresses up as care, you confuse control for closeness. Their shadow, the part of them that feels unsafe, insecure, and unworthy, reaches out and quietly steers your life. Not because they hate you, but because they haven't made peace with their own chaos. But you don't owe anyone your smallness. Your vision doesn't need their permission. And love, real love, will never stand in the way of your evolution. It won't cage you to feel secure. It won't shrink you to avoid abandonment. It will walk beside you, even if the path makes them uncomfortable. Because true care is not about control. It's about support, trust, and believing in your light, even when it outshines their shadow. If this message opened your eyes today, leave a comment of truth. I trust my path. I release control and walk boldly in my purpose. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful insights every week. Chapter 6: Gossip and Criticism Behind Your Back. They won't confront you directly. Instead, they chip away at your spirit with whispers. Their words creep through social spaces like smoke, twisting your intentions, reshaping your character, and planting suspicion in the minds of others. Suddenly, you're left wondering why the energy in the room shifts when you enter. Why do people hesitate before responding? Why do friends begin to feel distant? This isn't paranoia. It's a reaction to the silent sabotage of someone who pretends to support you, all while crafting a version of you that fits their insecurities. Carl Jung believed the shadow self holds all the parts of us we reject. And when someone refuses to face that darkness, it leaks out in manipulation and gossip. They don't just talk. They inject venom subtly, so it's not easily traced back to them. They say just enough to raise eyebrows, just enough to make others doubt you. Their smiles remain polite, but their words travel in secret, draining your relationships and your peace of mind. And the reason they do this? It's not your success, your kindness, or even your mistakes. It's the way your light exposes their unresolved wounds. These individuals avoid open conflict because confrontation would require honesty, and honesty would demand vulnerability. Instead, they manipulate perception. They isolate you, not by removing you, but by poisoning how others see you. It's slow, it's silent, and it works if you don't wake up to it. You start to second-guess your own intuition. You tone yourself down. You shrink to make the atmosphere lighter. But the truth is, what they say about you behind your back is a mirror of what they feel about themselves. Their criticism reveals their own shame. Their gossip reveals their jealousy. And here's the twist. They often frame their criticism as concern. "I'm just worried about her," they'll say, while tearing apart your choices. "I just think he's changing," they'll whisper, while resenting your growth. This kind of manipulation is dangerous because it sounds like care. But real care doesn't operate in the shadows. Real friends speak directly, protect your name, and tell you hard truths to your face, not to a crowd behind your back. If someone close to you is spreading rumors, twisting your words, or turning others against you without cause, they don't just dislike you, they resent you, maybe even hate you. And the more you rise, the more their shadow panics. You owe it to yourself to recognize these signs, not to seek revenge, but to protect your peace. Because being around someone who secretly hates you is like drinking poisoned water. It looks clear, but it's killing something inside you every day. Have you ever felt the sting of being misunderstood because of whispers you never heard but felt? If this message speaks to your heart, share your experience in the comments so others know they're not alone. And if you've ever stayed silent while someone twisted your truth, comment, "I choose truth," and let's stand strong together. Chapter 7. Know joy in your success. They smiled when you were broken. They clapped when you were trying. But now that you're actually succeeding, they're nowhere to be found. That silence isn't a coincidence, it's a message. When someone close to you quietly withdraws as you rise, it's often because your growth is confronting something they haven't dealt with inside themselves. Carl Jung called it the shadow of the hidden parts of the psyche we disown, but end up projecting onto others. And your light has now become a threat to their darkness. They didn't mind you climbing when they thought you'd never make it. In fact, they were comfortable as long as you were beneath them or struggling beside them. But now, your success exposes their stagnation. Your happiness reminds them of their discontent. You haven't done anything wrong, but in their eyes, you've become too much, too bold, too blessed, too free. And instead of cheering, they retreat. They make excuses. They distance themselves. Not because you've changed, but because you've outgrown the version of you that made them feel safe. It often starts subtly. The congratulations become quieter. The responses to your joy feel forced or rehearsed. When you share your wins, they switch the subject. When you celebrate, they downplay. It's not just what they say, it's what they don't say. Silence in moments of your joy speaks louder than applause during your pain. Because when someone's heart is secretly competing with you, your success doesn't inspire them, it wounds them. And yet, they were always available when you were hurting. When life hit you hard, they had time. When you doubted yourself, they were there with words. But now that you believe in yourself, now that you're shining, they disappear. Because your light reveals their inner chaos. Carl Jung believed that people who can't handle their own inner turmoil often try to suppress or distance themselves from the people who remind them of what they could be. Your success becomes a mirror they don't want to look into. True friends grow with you. They evolve alongside you. They're not intimidated by your wings. They help you fly. But envious ones? They won't attack you. They'll just fade. They'll use phrases like, "I'm just busy," or "You've changed," to mask what they really feel, left behind. Their emotional withdrawal isn't about boundaries, it's about bruised egos. Your joy bruises their pride. And instead of doing the work to heal, they choose the easier route: silence, distance, and quiet resentment. But your progress is not an offense. Your happiness is not a betrayal. And their discomfort is not your burden to carry. You don't have to shrink just to keep someone else comfortable in your light. You weren't meant to stay small so others could feel big. If they can't clap when you win, they were never truly on your team. Growth will always reveal who was clapping from the heart and who was clapping for control. Their silence is their confession. Their distance is their decision. And your continued rise is your truth. Keep climbing. Keep glowing. Let your joy be loud, even if it makes others quiet. Because the ones meant for you will never fear your light. They'll reflect it. Comment below. I celebrate my growth unapologetically if you're done shrinking to make others comfortable. Let's rise boldly and in truth together. Chapter 8. Body language never lies. Their words may say, "I'm happy for you," but their body speaks a different truth. The smile they flash is tight. Their eyes avoid yours. The energy in the room shifts subtly but unmistakably. You feel it. It's not what they said, it's how they said it, how they stood, how they looked away just a second too long. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious reveals itself when the conscious tries to hide. And that's exactly what happens when hidden resentment slips through the cracks of polite conversation. You don't need a psychology degree to pick up on these signals. Your intuition already knows. The gut twist you feel isn't random. The unease in your chest isn't paranoia. It's your body translating microsignals. Stiff posture, crossed arms, delayed responses, shallow compliments. These aren't accidental. They are the unconscious body's confession. The body can't lie, even when the mouth does. And yet, so often, we second-guess ourselves. We tell ourselves they're just tired, distracted, or going through something. But patterns reveal truth. When someone consistently reacts to your wins with tension or withdrawal, you're not imagining it. Their resentment may be silent, but it's not invisible. It shows in the way they change the subject when you share good news. It reveals itself in the forced smile when others praise you. It leaks out in their lack of enthusiasm, the emotional vacancy behind the congratulations. Real friends don't compete with your light. They rise with it. When you grow, they feel inspired, not threatened. When you shine, they don't squint. They celebrate. That emotional presence, that shared joy, is the mark of authentic connection. On the other hand, someone who secretly harbors resentment will always find ways to dim the moment, not by shouting, not by arguing, but by slowly pulling back their energy, their support, their warmth. This silent withdrawal becomes more painful over time, because it's not just what they do, it's what they withhold. They don't clap when you rise. They don't ask how you feel. They don't celebrate your joy with full presence. Instead, they nod while secretly stepping away inside. And that distance is not physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the kind of quiet sabotage that leaves you questioning your worth, your path, and even your perception. So watch the body. Feel the energy. Trust the space between the words, because the body never lies. The micro-expressions, the energy pull, the hesitations reveal everything the mouth refuses to admit. When someone says, "I'm proud of you," but looks like they're in pain, listen to the look, not the sentence. When they say, "That's great news," but don't ask another question, hear the silence louder than the phrase. Your body knows, your intuition remembers, and your spirit feels every shift. The deeper lesson is this: you are not here to shrink for someone else's comfort. You're not meant to dull your light to protect someone else's shadow. So pay attention to what's unsaid, because that's where the truth lives. To affirm your trust in your inner wisdom, declare it now. Comment below, "I trust what I feel," to honor your intuition and inspire others to read beyond words and recognize the truth that body language reveals. Thank you for watching this eye-opening journey into the hidden layers of human emotion and energy. If any of these signs resonated with you, remember, trust your intuition, protect your peace, and never apologize for sensing what others try to hide. You deserve relationships built on authenticity, not secret resentment. If you found value in this message, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights like this. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode that could shift your perspective and protect your energy. Until next time, stay wise, stay empowered.